Trying to decipher the very best camera when it comes to wildlife photography and videography? If so, then these photos hold a secret that you might find really, really interesting. That is, if you want sharp, detailed pictures. If you want to be able to get close, I mean really, really close, then this video is going to be one you're going to want to watch in its entirety because it's different than so many of the similar videos on YouTube currently. And here's why. You see, there's one camera brand that offers a feature that is really based on the most important thing when it comes to taking great photos of wildlife, of birds, of bears, and you can use it in video as well. It's an amazing feature that you just won't find in a Canon camera. And it's not available in Panasonic or Fuji. And the fact of the matter is, Nikon has some incredible cameras that really excel when it comes to wildlife, but they don't offer this one feature that truly is a game changer. And I want you to remember these images that I mentioned seconds ago. Now, to be fair, I'm not going to try to convince you that Sony is the very best camera and that's what you should go with. That's really a decision that you have to make up for yourself. But I do want to share my experience. I bought all kinds of gear, kind of like this 100 to 400 G Master zoom lens. And by the way, there's a clue right there. But the feature I'm going to talk about, it's not based in a lens because this is a video about cameras. However, here's what I know for sure. When you book a trip to Yellowstone and you spend 8 to 10 hours driving, and then you spend several days searching and waiting and hoping, and then it finally happens, you come across this magical moment just like this, you're going to want to be able to zoom in and get close. And the most important thing when it comes to wildlife photography, and again, videography, is just that. Getting close. Because great photography is about capturing special moments. And when it comes to wildlife, it's all about the details that we miss in the moment or simply rarely see. Like, when's the last time you saw a bear? Or when's the last time you saw a red-tailed hawk? Or a red-tailed hawk with a bunny? Bird of prey. Poor bunny. And again, in order to capture these kinds of moments, you need a lot of zoom. And you see, I didn't have this video when I got started and I bought this amazing lens. But when it comes to wildlife, this lens is great. But you know what's better? This lens, 200 to 600, where this other lens, this one taps out at 400, this one takes me to 600 millimeters. But this feature is built into Sony camera bodies, just like this really expensive and amazing wildlife camera body, the Sony A1. But it's also built into this entry-level camera, the Sony RX10, which means that Sony has something that you want to know about if you're into wildlife photography, video, and really zooming in. And who doesn't need to zoom when we have a camera? Well, everybody. Now, it's going to get a bit weird, and a lot of photographers, they don't believe this. They don't believe in this feature, and I don't understand why. All of these images were taken using this one particular feature, which is based on a digital zoom. And typically, that's the thing you don't want to use. You don't want to digitally zoom in with a camera because it's going to degrade the quality, the sharpness, and the detail of your photo. But what are your thoughts about these particular wildlife photos? This photo of an eagle or this little sparrow bird. I mean, plenty sharp, so much detail, and being able to zoom in is a huge deal. So for most photographers, especially people just getting started, spending the kind of money to get a Sony A1, which is a flagship camera combined with a $2,000 zoom lens, is probably too much. This is about $9,000 worth of photography gear. I bought this camera for less than $1,000. It's got a 500 millimeter zoom, maybe 600 millimeters. It's entry level, and guess what? It has the same feature built in. Amazing. And that is what this video is about. It's about really uncovering and drawing attention to what's called clear image zoom that is proprietary to Sony. That's a big word. Proprietary. Proprietary. In this particular photo of an eagle, well, I took it at 900 millimeters by cropping in camera. And we're going to start talking about types of cameras and things to think about to really, again, focus on that most important thing. When it comes to wildlife, it's zooming in. And while some people will be like, well, it degrades the sharpness of the photo, I personally believe that this photo is much more powerful and awesome because of how close I am to the subject. And that was made possible by, again, clear image zoom. Do you see any degradation? Is that a word of the image? I don't. I think it looks amazing. And for me, this is what really great photographers do. And I'm not saying I'm great, but just stick with me. They make decisions like that in the field based on what's most important. And wildlife, it's getting close. So the thing I want to draw your attention to is that I started out with this camera, my Sony A1, and because it's a full frame camera, I have the ability to crop into the sensor, which is, it's a 1.5 times crop. So I don't use the whole sensor, but I zoom in, I crop in, and this lens doesn't tap out at 600 millimeters, but it gets me to 900 millimeters, which is amazing. Almost all bird photographers usually will be cropping in camera, not always, but so often. And that's one of the things you want to consider when buying a camera for wildlife, is I think full frame is really a great way to go because it's really like having two cameras in one, a crop sensor camera and a full frame camera. So this eagle photo, again, shot in crop mode at 900 millimeters, but it says the ISO was 400. And see, that's one of the really great things about understanding and making decisions based on really capturing the very best photos. Because I could have used a teleconverter, which is more glass, and then it's going to take my aperture, and notice here the aperture is f6.3. Well, my aperture would have been around f8 or f9. I would have had more reach, but I want to keep my ISO really low because the lower the ISO, the less grain and noise in the image. And again, it's really about making decisions really fast to understand how to get the best photo. So for me, I don't use teleconverters as much as I used to because I can use this feature, clear image zoom, which allows me to keep my f-stop lower, which allows me to keep my ISO lower, which results in sharper photos. Amazing. And furthermore, it says here the zoom level was 900 millimeters, or I should say the focal distance. But in reality, 2 times digital zoom via clear image zoom, and all of a sudden, this photo is actually taken at 1800 millimeters. Crazy. So the thing to think about when you're buying a camera for a wildlife is a crop sensor camera is great, and you'll probably be shooting crop most of the time. But if you can spend a little bit more money, you can get a full frame camera, and it just offers more flexibility. Again, 2 cameras in one. And you know another subject I really, really love? It's wildlife. I am a wildlife shooter. I like all types of photography, but there's something about capturing animals and insects and bees. And this video on the screen now goes into just that. Click that video, I'll see you there. You dig? 'Cause I'm a cowboy, baby.